Hi, everyone. Welcome to Meet the Authors. And in this episode, I have a special guest with me. Her name is Trina Hall. Trina Hall is the author of Note to Self Empowerment. Trina, welcome to the show.
Hi, George. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had a chance to sink my teeth into this yet, but I am very much looking forward to it because I know you've had a very powerful story, a very powerful journey along the way. Before we kind of dig into some of the things that are in this book, tell us more about you and your story and the kind of work that you're doing in the world.
Okay, well, about me, I kind of was using writing as a tool because I was kind of sheltered from the world. I had a lot of kind of hard hits and struggles throughout my life. So I used writing as my outlet because I never really would share anything that was going wrong. I was more the type of person that was helping others and giving great advice, but not really taking it myself. And so with this book, I just now, with the last 2 years from joining this mastermind group, I'm out of my comfort zone and now I'm sharing my writing with the world. So it's kind of exciting to finally do this. And it's a big, huge transformation for me from somebody kind of hiding to being out there in the world.
You know, that's a common theme that I see with aspiring authors. It's like they're kind of hiding, and the book almost becomes a catalyst for them to really come out into the world. Can you tell us more about how that transformational process was for you?
So the shift that happened was I was helping a lot of people one-on-one, and I found that I was saying the same thing over and over again and giving the same advice to people. And then I thought, you know what, if I'm going to reach a broader audience, or it might be just easier just to write it down in a book. So I could just say, here, let them read it all, as opposed to doing the same thing over and over again, because it was taking me a lot of time to explain kind of what I went through and the wisdom that I've learned. And I was ready to take that next step and kind of go more globally instead of just in my little neighborhood.
Wow. So tell us more about what were some of the internal blocks that may have shown up along the way. You go from hiding to now being a published author, which is, such a big move in somebody's life. Tell us what were some of those internal blocks that showed up along the way.
Okay, I had a lot of internal blocks. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. That was part of not finding myself, was I never felt like I was good enough, and I was always being judged. And I always was I always had big dreams, but I felt like I was always kind of suppressed and told to like kind of play small and keep with the norm. But I knew that wasn't me. And then eventually your true self just has to come out, and then you just have to live your life how you see it. And I've always known I was supposed to write a book since I was 10. And I just feel like this is the time and this is my purpose. And once you're true to yourself and your purpose, all the blocks are removed. So it actually removed all the blocks. But my blocks were basically fear of being judged and rejection.
Those are such huge and very common blocks as it relates to, being hiding and then also becoming a published author. Well, that's inspiring because, I talk with a lot of people who they want to write a book. They know there's a book inside of them, but they're not ready to overcome some of those internal blocks. So if somebody's watching this and they do want to become a published author, but they do have that maybe fear of rejection or fear of being seen, fear of being judged, any suggestions or advice that you have for them?
Well, I do have a suggestion. Like, for one thing, I probably had, like, I could resonate with a lot of people about fears and blocks because I wasn't even on Facebook or the normal things that people are on in the last 2 years. Like, I was actually really hiding and really afraid. And my best advice is when you just do it, it's actually not as fearful as you think. Like, I'm not even afraid at all. And if you knew all the things I was afraid of, I'd look back and say, why? Like, just do it and don't worry. Just know you have a story inside, because we all have a different story and we all can help people. Even when you don't think you are, you actually do touch people, and you can't really judge. Like, I never thought I would help so many people, but then you put it out there and then people come to you and you're like, wow, I needed to hear that today. Or, oh, I'm not alone. You're going through that also. Like, just little things like that. You can't even control what's going on when you put it out in the universe. It just comes kind of back to you. And then I would just say, do it. We all have a story and we're all meant to let it out.
Like Nike, just do it. And you're so right. I think that so many of us create this big story in our mind of how difficult something is going to be, and then when we actually do the thing, we look back and think, well, I don't know why I made such a big deal out of that. That was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. And it does make you go into a bigger version of yourself. Even just doing this call, I don't really videotape myself or go out. And I know that's the next step. So it's just great how you're pushing me out of my comfort zone, but just kind of at the right time. You are very good at keeping people accountable in your group also. And I think too, if I ever had questions, you were always there, which always helped along the way, where you just know that sometimes writing a book, you're by yourself and you feel like you're doing it all alone, but there's a great support system within your group, and you each get an accountability buddy also, which helps. So you're not really alone, and it helps push you along the process.
Right. So what Trina is talking about, for those of you who are watching, is my coaching and mastermind program. It's called Become a Published Author in 126 Days. And inside of that, you get 3 levels of accountability. You get an accountability buddy, you have weekly calls with the entire group, and you have the Facebook group to jump in and say, hey, I'm stuck here. Can you support me? And then I'm obviously always available for you if you need a quick, if you have a quick question or you need a quick breakthrough or something. I'm always there for you too. So it's a great program. And, you know, Trina, you can probably speak to, you know, how long had this book been kind of knocking at your door before you decided to start writing it?
Well, I joined your group 2 years ago, but I started a different book, like I said. So this book in particular was probably about a year I've been working on it, but I've been in your group. I joined in 2014. So it's been almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. So from start to finish, it took almost 2 years to write and publish your book.
This one, yes. Like a book, I have it too, because I didn't know if you had it. Yeah.
Right
But with
on.
the process too is sometimes you have so many different stories inside of you. So I thought I was going to start with a different story, and it turned out to be this one. But as long as you just keep writing, then something will form for sure.
Yeah, talk about that, because I think, you know, people have this idea of, I want to write a book, but they've got like 3 books in me. You know, what do I focus on first? What's your advice for them there?
Well, that was exactly me. I had 3 books in me and I was all over the place, and I thought, how am I ever going to do this? But whenever inspiration kind of hit me, I went with it, because as long as you're writing. So I had a relationship book of breaking the cycle of choosing the wrong person over and over again. And I thought that was my first book, and I was writing it. And then this book came along, and then I was in California and I had a parenting book coming. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to finish a book when I'm just doing little bits here and there. But you just keep going with it and write. As long as you're going with the process, it's kind of amazing, because then it ends up being easier if you're writing all over the place. Now your second and your third book's going to be a lot more easier than the first book. So what happened was I found that this book ended up flowing a lot better. And then I just, once I knew which book I was going to have first, then I just focused on the one. But it is a creative process, and it does come to you. I didn't even question it, because I was kind of hard on myself, saying, oh, I'm never going to get it done, or can I just focus on one project? And as soon as I let it go and let it flow naturally, that's when it actually came out. I had too many expectations on myself. I think that was a huge block also. So I wasn't allowing it to flow.
Brilliantly.
And when it didn't happen at the time frame, I was also getting frustrated, because I was thinking, oh, I have the 126 days. And then I felt like a failure at 126 days when I wasn't done. And then as soon as I wasn't hard on myself and said, you know what, it's going to be done when it's done. And yes, it took 2 years almost, but it feels so good, like that I actually did it. It's a lot better than, 10 years from now, and I'm still saying I didn't do it. Like now I could say I finally have done it.
And yeah, exactly. And congratulations, you did it in a rather short period of time, because that's what happens. Somebody gets the drip of inspiration to write the book, and all of a sudden they start typing or they start writing down, and then they get stuck. And when they get stuck, they don't know where to go, because they don't know where to start. They don't know the process of writing and publishing their book. And also they don't have any accountability. So you're right. 1 week turns into a month turns into a year turns into a decade. And most people never write their book. And I believe that we all have a unique journey that we've experienced, and I believe that should be and deserves a book. So, you mentioned it feels great. How does it feel? So when you got your proof copy and even your final copy, how did it feel to hold your own book in your hands?
Hey, it's surreal. And it's surreal when people are taking pictures with their books, or just when I handed it. I gave the first 3 copies I gave was to my husband and my 2 daughters, and I autographed it, but just to see their face that I've done it, like it was such a sense of pride. Like they're just so proud of me. They're always telling everybody how my mom wrote a book and my wife wrote a book. And it's just, you feel a sense of accomplishment, but also I've had people read my book so far and it's helped them. So that touches me also. And then you get these different feedbacks, like, you know, like somebody said they like my sense of humor, but it's not even a funny book. Like, you don't know what people are going to get from it. But I feel, first of all, I did it for me. I had a story in me. I didn't even care at that time if I had one copy, just to say I accomplished it, because you can just make one copy if you really want to. But some people, that's what they want. They can say that they published a book. And then to other people, you want to go further and you want to expand and help the world. It all depends. But I really believe that everyone should write their own book. It's such a legacy to leave behind for your children or your family, or, you know, like what better way to get to pass the wisdom on through a book or your story or whatever it is that you have to write about.
Totally, totally. So if you're watching this, you want to learn more about the mastermind, you can go to bpa126.com. Trina, what was some of the things that helped you and supported you along the way within the mastermind?
The accountability buddy was one of the best things. Like when I first joined, I didn't really know how it was going to be, but I'm still really good friends with my accountability, and we still keep each other. Like we still push each other along. Also, just when you don't know, you can have an idea that you want to write a book, but you don't really realize how much is entitled, like how much you have to do when you write a book, like your book cover, or just how do you go about doing a book? Like it's one idea to have like a book inside you, but then how do you actually put a book together? And I found that this group helped, because you have a lot of resources, and with book designers and how to promote your book, and editors and book writing coaches, like whatever you kind of need, you offer in this group. So before you know it, it kind of puts the book all together, because you have everything all in the whole group. Like that's what I found. Like I didn't realize there was so much to do with the book, and then you kind of laid it out through each call. And they're recorded, so you could look back. Like I have looked back at some of the recordings when I needed them also. So that I found that very beneficial.
Right on. Well, you know, you were such an inspiration in the process, because the people who lead the way and write and publish their book, they become the example that says, see, it is possible. And, you know, just to let you know, out of the 10 authors that have been birthed out of this mastermind, only 2 of them have finished it within 126 days. So hopefully you can rest easy knowing that.
And it doesn't even matter at the end of the day. The 126 days is good because you have some kind of focus, and you really hope you can do it in the 126 days. But if you do it in, 130 days or 500 days, as long as it's done, but it gives you that push and some kind of goal towards. And that's what it did. And every time after the 126 days, it made me work a bit harder also, because I'm like, oh, now it's one more day. And a lot of groups too, like, it's kind of like if you join a gym or something, and if you don't go to the gym, no one really notices. Like this, if you join this group, it's not, I kind of felt like people still, because I still talk to a lot of people in the group, so they noticed if my book's not done or not. And not that I'm being hounded or anything, but I still had that accountability there that I felt like, oh, I got to get it done, because they know that I was in this group and I didn't get it done. So it's kind of a nice, gentle nudge.
Yeah, that's the number one thing that keeps aspiring authors from completing their book after they've started it, is they have zero accountability in place. So it's easy just to say, well, I'm stuck. I'll work on this tomorrow. And then, like I said, tomorrow becomes a year or 2 years down the line, and they still have nothing to show for it. But when you have accountability, whether you sign up and join my mastermind or not, when you have accountability, it's sort of that, hey, how are you doing in this process? Hey, you said you're going to write your book. Hey, are you finished yet? Kind of thing. And it's kind of like, it kind of sticks you in the side a little bit, but it's like, I did commit to writing this book. So it just keeps you accountable and moving forward. So Trina, tell us a little bit more about maybe 30,000 foot view. What's the book about? What can people expect to read when they do read your book?
So with this book, I didn't want anyone to feel alone. So the way I wrote it, it's a 7 steps to finding your true self, your purpose, and your power within. But mainly each chapter, I started with my own personal journey, because I found that the way I helped people was that I would tell my story and they would resonate with me, which would help them open up. So I kind of wanted people to feel more comfortable, like they're not alone. See, I've been through it. And I walked them through every step through my journey. And then just to peel away the layers, because so many people are pleasing each other, like trying to please people, or they're so busy and focused on their kids or their wife or their work, and they're not actually looking within and finding themselves. So it's just what happened was I kind of ignored myself, and I had a lot of things that I should have dealt with, but I was always the strong person. And eventually I hit kind of rock bottom and lost everything. So I started my chapter 3 from rock bottom. So if anyone's at rock bottom, they don't have to feel alone. Or if they're anywhere higher than that, then they're already a step ahead. And it just helps them stay true to themselves and find their power. And yeah, because once you find that, then your purpose unfolds also. And then that's when you find true happiness and fulfillment.
Beautifully put, beautifully put. Well, I'm looking forward to reading it. And where can people find this bit of magic here?
They can look on my website under books, but it's www.trinahall.com.
Cool, just like it's spelled. Well, congratulations to you again, Trina. And any last bit of inspiration or advice for those people out there who know they have a book inside of them, but they just haven't made that choice yet?
Well, if you know that you have a book inside you, maybe set aside some time in the morning or whenever you have, and just write and see where it goes. Just don't put the pressure on yourself to create a huge book, because that might be intimidating. Just start writing. That's the key. And then eventually the writing will flow, because I actually started this book with doing blogs. So I actually used some of my blog material. And then like I said, this wasn't my first book. So I was doing a whole bunch of blogs, and then someone suggested, why don't you use some of the things you're already writing? And then I reused some work. So if you're just journaling or writing your ideas every day, eventually it will come together. It really does.
Beautiful advice. Beautiful advice. Well, thank you again, Trina. Congratulations to you on your book, and keep up the great work in the world. I can't wait to see where you fly off to from here.
Watch out.
And thank you for joining us on Meet the Author. Stay tuned for the next episode coming your way soon. Take good care.
Okay. Thank you.